North Carolina got their guy, potential superstar here. I've been calling him Luka Bogavac all morning. Riley just corrected me offline. It's Luka Bogavac. And I'm excited to hear Riley speak on behalf of Tar Heel Nation. Let your fan base and everyone else know what you are getting in your Luka.
Dude, I'm a massive fan of Luca, and I he first came on UNC's radar, like it started to become public. I want to say it was mid-May, where it was like, okay, this dude is a major target for UNC. So I've been sneakily diving into his film since then, Greg. So we're at about 2.5 months of me being familiar with the Luka Bogavac experience. But I didn't want to go like too deep into the film just because it's like, man, if we don't sign him, I'm gonna be very, very sad. But it's weird because Greg, like I've made my feelings known about Hubert in recent months. I don't really think he's the long-term answer at UNC. I think the highs aren't the question. The highs have been great, but it's just the lows and the volatility really concern me. Some of the on-court product is not the prettiest, and even beyond that, there's like a greater conversation of like, is he like he doesn't really sell or market the program like I think a head coach needs to do in this day and age. That being said, I'm at a point where I have to look at this roster and I like this team. And it feels weird because I've been pessimistic about UNC really since March 2024. After Carolina missed on Jonas Adu and missed on Cliff Amorie and missed on who else did they miss on? Coleman Hawkins, missed on Julius Halafanoa. It's just like, man, this is never going to end. And you couple that with a season in which they were literally 14 and 11 at one point. They're 14 and 11 in February. It's like, wow, I think this staff and Jim Tanner, the GM, have done honestly an excellent job turning this thing around and retooling a roster. And to me, Luca is the final piece that makes it like if everything clicks and we get even year Hubert, which remember in even years Hubert goes to national title games where he gets one seeds. If we get even year Hubert, this could be a top 10 team. And I know that might sound crazy based off of this Balkan kid coming over. But I think like when you look at what Carolina already had in place with their starting front court of Caleb Wilson, Henry Vasar, a lot of versatility there in terms of playmaking, good defensively. The backcourt, they had Seth Trimble and Kyan Evans. Evans is the shooter. Trimble should be the point of attack defender, slasher type of role. But they didn't have a shot creator. They didn't have someone who you could say, go create with 10 seconds left in the shot clock. They didn't say, here's someone who can play out of those high ball screens that Hubert loves to run, or the guys who can play out of horn sets. And I think Luca can be that. Granted, there's always going to be a little bit of risk when you have the international dudes coming over. There is a learning curve there. Even someone like him who played in a really, really good league last year and scored 15 a game, there's some question marks. But I see the framework. I like the pieces a lot. And I just think this to me with Luca feels like the perfect marriage of need and skill set.
Okay. Look, I love the ad. I think this is like a need and a great one. I love the film that I've seen. Obviously, I was texting you about it over the weekend, and like I have no intention to like rain on your parade in any way with this because I think you should be celebrating this. This is an ad that makes me take North Carolina seriously this year in a way where I was intrigued by the roster. Like I liked the Stevenson Vasar ads. Obviously, I'm a fan of Caleb Wilson's game. Getting Trimble back was good, but just you added it all up before this, and it was like, okay, even if everything hits, it feels like the ceiling isn't where you want it to be. This is a ceiling raising ad because if this hits, all of a sudden, like I think you look at like a top two of him and Wilson if they come to coexist. If Trimble's like the second or third guy there, that's one of the best trios in the sport. It
Mhm.
allows Kyan Evans to sort of just step into what he's comfortable with and hopefully be a shot maker with a different guy that can run pick and roll stuff. I think it just in general takes pressure off of everybody. I do have some questions just on exactly what North Carolina's expectations will be of him and if what he's done professionally it actually maps to what North Carolina might be asking him to do. But
Mhm.
in general, this is one of the most can't miss international players that I think anyone's added. Cart and I just asked ourselves a question in our Bleacher Report stream of like, what's the dream starting five of all international players that have been added this year? And Luca was one of our first names off the list. I think he's an absolute must put in like an exercise like that. He's one of the more accomplished guys that's going to play college basketball. That's coming over.
Mhm.
You mentioned he's what top five scorer in the Adriatic League.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've been like the NC State fans are coming out of the woodworks, being like, I saw someone talk about how like, oh, don't put too much stock into this. Paxson Wojcik was cooking in Europe, and like I love my guy Pax. Shout out to Pax, UNC legend. But Paxton Wojcik is playing in the top league in Poland, which is a good bit different than the ABA. Like the ABA has produced Nikola Jokic before he played for the Denver Nuggets. It produced Ivica Zubac, produced Goja Bitadze, produced Nikola Jovic. It produced, I think, remember the dude Juricic, who
Yeah.
I think we did a video because he got drafted by the Hawks.
He went
Is
one
he
and done. He didn't come to college because his stock rose so much. It was zero and done, right? It was international,
yeah.
the pros.
He's also a Nicola, isn't he? Is he Nicola? I can't
Yeah.
remember his first name, but he also played in the ABA. Like that's a guy who I know like Hawk fans were really high on before his injury as well. Like this is a league that has produced some legit pros from like literally the best player in the world right now to other guys like Zubats, who was like averaging 17 and 13 this year, to some high upside guys as well. And Luka was scoring 15 a game, shooting 40% from three, really good shooter off the bounce. Like, uh, our guy Arman Yovic pointed out that the Adriatic League doesn't have the best athleticism, so that could be a concern. Just playing against more length in college and guys who are younger in their athletic prime. But I just struggle seeing how it could like completely flop. I think he's a very high floor, high ceiling ad.
Yeah, I agree with you. For the like individually, I don't think it can flop. I think he's just an accomplished, gonna be 22-year-old basketball player.
Mhm.
Which is honestly a huge part of this, right? And we've talked about this with other international prospect breakdowns this offseason. This is by no means meant like as a North Carolina individual unique thing. I did this repeatedly with Illinois. This guy should not be playing college basketball, and he can be. It's fine. He's going to be 22 before the season starts. That's fine. If we're letting everyone do this and giving them years of eligibility, fine. My guess would be 5 to 6 years from now, we no longer allow people to do this. In essence, there's nothing about this kid that maps to being a college person, a college student, nothing. He is a professional player that's played professional ball for 4 years, that views himself as a pro, wants to be a pro, will continue being a pro when this is done with, and is just taking like a study abroad trip to Chapel Hill for a year to 2 years max. And it's great. Good on North Carolina for capitalizing on it. Brad Underwood's built an entire program off of this right now, but it is not at all what the college experience is supposed to be for international players. And it's part of why I think he's such a can't miss option, because there are a lot of international ads being taken at other places right now that are more like Purdue, Omer Mayer. We love him. He might be a pro one day. He's an 18-year-old kid that is on the NBA radar that who knows what he'll be. He's developing, and now it's time for his life where he should be going to college, so he's going to college. This guy's a 22-year-old man who is just like, oh, I could go cook in the ACC. And he will cook in the ACC, and he'll play as long as the NCAA lets him. But I think that's part of the can't miss element to this.
For
He's
sure.
averaging 14 a game as a 21-year-old in a league full of pros. That's
Mhm.
good. He can still grow a lot, but like you are getting a professional adult man, and that's part of why he can't miss, right?
For sure. Just as you're going off on that explanation, Greg, are you familiar at all with the old well? That's like the Chapel Hill landmark.
No.
Really? I think if I sent you a photo of it, you would recognize it. It's used on like all of like UNC. It's like the iconic thing on UNC's campus. Anyway, it's a well like structure with a water fountain. And on the first day of class, every student drinks from it. And you're supposed to get a 4.0 if you drink from it. Also, people pee in it. I never drank out of it.
My
Uh,
God.
but I guarantee you, well, I'm going to do this if no one else will. Luca's gonna have a photo drinking from the old well on the first day of class with like a student athlete type propaganda post from the UNC men's basketball Instagram page, and I'm going to repost that because these are student athletes. Gee, don't just say he no, but I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
he is a pro that's essentially studying abroad, and who
And
knows how long.
there's nothing wrong with it. I want to be clear. Again, there's North Carolina's not unique in adding players
Mhm.
like this. People are trying to push the limits of this. Doug Gottlieb just added like a 27-year-old. So I don't mean that as a negative,
Mhm.
but it's a big part of like what is the sell on his profile? Why is he so ready? He's ready because he's older than any college student here. He's
Right.
been training. He literally is a pro. He's not like a prospect. He's a pro. And that's great for Hubert that you got your hands on a guy like that. It does make me wonder, like, okay, even if he's super productive, there's not like crazy NBA upside
Yeah.
here, is there?
I don't think so. And all I can go off of from this was reading Arman Yovic. He did that interview with Tar Heel Illustrated weighing in on Luka. I think the gist of what he said was like he could turn himself into a prospect if he performs really well at UNC. But I think the part he kept harping on was that, the way that Luka creates space is with his footwork. It's not like he's super explosive. He's just crafty and fundamental and like can create space in a phone booth to get his shot off.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really valuable in college, but it probably does limit some of the long-term upside. But you come out as care if he can get me 15, 16 a game, I won't care.
Yeah. Any comment on in that interview, Armand comparing him to both Luka Doncic and Steph Curry in back-to-back sentences?
Let's go. Let's that Chapel Hill where legends are made of.
Surely this couldn't go wrong at all, right?
MJ, Vince, Antoine, Luca. That's what I've been saying.
Yeah, I mean you got Luka Curry here. That's what you just got. Surely the guy averaging 14 a game in the Adriatic League is going to live up to those comparisons. This video is brought to you by NBA2K Lab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well. And they're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game. And I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's. That's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video. Okay, so I want to do like a quick point on why I love this so much and get your thoughts, and then I want to just do my devil's advocate host skepticism. So, front side, I love this ad truly. The thing I love most about it is I think it's the perfect type of positionally versatile ad that now covers everything Hubert already built on this roster, covers your bases no matter what happens. Basically, this ad allows Hubert to just play the five best players, however that looks. If that's Vasar and Stevenson and Caleb Wilson and Luka, you can play those guys 5-4-3-2 and then push Seth to the one. Or God forbid, if Kai and Evans is awesome, then he can be the one. If Kai and Evans is a superstar, he's your one, Seth's your two, play Luka at the three, Caleb Wilson slides out of the four, and one of the bigs comes out. You now have like a bunch of different versions of this North Carolina team from big to small that I think you didn't have before. Before this, it was like Kyan has to be awesome.
Mhm.
Now, even if Kyan is like really overwhelmed, I think Luka can kind of run the team, be the
Mhm.
pseudo point guard, run all the ball screen stuff. Caleb Wilson can slide down. It just works. And it's almost like it's a bunch of insurance while, like you mentioned, having this upside element too to it. It really is one of my favorite ads of the offseason because of how much it covers North Carolina's bases.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I would say just when you look at this guard room and even the wings, when like Jonathan Powell is someone who's not really being talked about. He's almost kind of an afterthought. It might be because he committed so early on. But he had some real flashes in Big 12 play. I think as a whole, his numbers, his 3-point percentage dipped, like going from the non-conference into Big 12 play, but that's to be expected. And he was a freshman. But like when you factor in that guard trio of Bogavac, Seth, and Kyan Evans, add Jonathan Powell to it, there's just like, they all they well, all except Evans. I think Evans is listed at 6'2", but I was going back and watching their game against Maryland, and he did like Evans. I think is a really good defender, and he's really quick. And like Jacoby Gillespie got the better of him a couple times, but like just the quickness, he was able to stay in front of Gillespie some. And of course, he's got a burner on him. But like as a whole, I would say this guard room has much better size than it did last year, and there is that positional versatility to where, yeah, like you said, your bases are covered. If Kyan doesn't pan out, then you have this guy who ran a lot of offense for SC Derby in the ABA. But he also like I think when I watch Luka coming off of ball screens and shooting pull up jumpers, I'm like, oh, I just watched 5 years of this from RJ Davis. At the same time, he can come off of like down screens in a way that like under Hubert, Carolina hasn't really had anybody do that other than Brady Manick and Cormac Ryan. And I'm like, you can run off ball stuff for him too. It's just like I'm excited to see how this staff can scheme up like different ways to use him, and even how they maximize how they maximize their lineups and everything. Yeah, and like you said, they can go big with Wilson and Stevenson on the court together. They can go small, and yeah, it just gives them a lot of options.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how they try and approach this. All right, points of skepticism are just, I don't know, devil's advocate questions for me. Um, the one thing I would still look at this roster, the top six, seven projected players, whatever you want to say, and I feel like the roster's lacking. I don't feel that there's a guy from a playmaking for others, passing facilitation standpoint that I think can't miss.
Hmm.
I don't think that's the strength of Boga's game. I'm calling him Boga, by the way. Now, again, he's a supremely efficient scorer from everywhere. And when we say he can run ball screens, I fully believe it. But he is the type, as far as I can tell, when he runs a ball screen, he's looking to score.
Hmm.
So if the offense becomes like, hey, we're gonna run a bunch of Boga stuff, I think he's mostly just gonna be scoring. I don't think he's gonna
Yeah.
be like creating shots for everybody else. And you don't really have that guy. Like Kyan Evans is not, it's not his strength, even if he's going to
Hmm.
be your point guard. So I don't know. I guess in my head, like a dream late ad here would have had a little more of a passing gene than Boga. And I
Hmm.
do worry that if some of the lineups we talked about end up coming to fruition, if it ends up being like Trimble and Boga and Caleb Wilson, is there any passing on that team?
So that's, I mean, a great question. From what I've watched of Boga, if they like if a team hard hedges him or traps him coming off a ball screen, he's going to find the open man under the basket. But I was watching his game against KK Megabets. You know, we love KK Megabet, which uh, Yelovich, the Kentucky kid, I think he's going to be really good after watching this game.
Yeah.
I think he needs to start at Kentucky, but like watching that game, Luka had some pretty bad turnovers, like just trying to like make entry passes or like even passing off of ball screens to where I'm like, yeah, that doesn't look like it's his strongest attribute. The counterpoint that to that would be Greg, like when Carolina nearly won a national title, it was like RJ Davis and Caleb Love and Brady Manick just like creating, well, I guess it was RJ and Caleb creating shots for themselves, and then Armando getting every offensive rebound and Brady knocking down every pick and pop three, and they didn't really need any more playmaking beyond that. But where I'm most interested to see is like Caleb Wilson and Henry Vasar, I think, are really gifted front court passers. Like the sell with Caleb Wilson is he can run the break, he can make reads at the top of the key. Like you could play him out of some 4 or 5 ball screens, and Vasar is really good at making reads off the short roll. I would say Armando's senior year, his second senior year, Hubert used him a lot on the short roll to make plays for others. But we've never really seen Hubert use like a playmaking 3, 4 like Caleb Wilson. Like even when Harrison Ingram was there, the one of the big sells on Ingram was like he basically ran the point at Stanford, played a ton out of ball screens. Didn't really do that at Carolina. He was a pick and pop threat who would dribble into some post ups. And so that's where I don't know. I need to see it before I believe it to see like can this staff truly maximize that part of Wilson's game, and do they lean on both Wilson and Vasar as like that playmaking role? There's a world in which I think it could really work, and if you have like Luka and Kyan Evans playing off of that, two snipers, like could be really efficient offense. We just haven't really seen Carolina play through its bigs, especially at a playmaking standpoint since Hubert's been the head coach.
Yeah. Yeah, all fair points. Only just notes for me as I listen through to it is like I think even that team that made the title game run, like we can joke about it. I think Caleb Love could pass.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just didn't really.
Yeah.
Um, and Harrison Ingram, like he could, even though he wasn't asked to. I don't know if this year's roster has anyone who can.
Hmm.
Like to me, I agree. I think Caleb Wilson might be the guy that might be most comfortable with that. But saying that out loud kind of reinforces my fear on it. It's like
Hmm.
the most talented passer on this team might be Caleb Wilson, who I think kind of came to Carolina wanting to really be like an alpha scorer. And that leads me to my last bit of skepticism. Are we confident Caleb Love or Jesus, Caleb Wilson? Is he pumped about this ad?
He liked the post that like this UN. He was the only current UNC player who liked the post that some fan page posted about Luka committing. So that leads me to think Caleb Wilson is.
That seems weird that he was the only one.
Yeah, I know. Like, come on, Seth, come on, Kyan. Like, let's get to like. Then again, there's only two players coming back from last year, so maybe it's just because these guys don't know each other yet.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I'm not trying to manufacture anything. I swear
For
here.
sure.
But the one thought I had was like, okay, Caleb Wilson had a pretty clean like I'm the starting three here. This guy's a 22-year-old stud. It's gonna be like if God forbid if Vasar and Stevenson are like just two of your best players, what do you do? Like
With
even though there is versatility, it's good, but does that
Mhm.
where does that like I can't imagine before this Caleb Wilson could do whatever he wanted and play. Now there's like a world where what happens to Ian Jackson and Drake Powell could happen to Caleb, and that's not
I
necessarily what I'd want as a Carolina.
Yeah, I hear that pushback. From what like the reports have been about UNC, they had viewed Jaron Stevenson more as the three and Caleb Wilson as the four, to where I don't think that spot's in jeopardy. But if Jaron
Okay.
Stevenson just completely breaks out, I don't like. I'm very high on Caleb Wilson. I think Caleb Wilson's in a completely different stratosphere talent wise than Jaron Stevenson, and I like Stevenson a lot too. He's just 19 years old and still has a lot of upside, I would say. But if let's say that like Stevenson really pans out as a capable three, or Wilson pans out as a capable three, whatever. Let's say this world like both of them are two of your five best players. I would guess like, man, I don't really know what I would assume it has a negative impact on either Evans or Trimble, and I would lean Evans just because like what we've seen from Hubert under 4 years is if you're a starting guard, if you're his guy, you're gonna play 30 minutes a night. Like I'd really struggle to see Seth Trimble not playing 30 plus minutes a night. And maybe in that situation you just let like Bogavac and Wilson do most of your facilitating and you don't really have a true point guard. But yeah, that's I mean it's a fair concern.
I mean, if you're right, and you're obviously more tapped into what's actually happening than I am, if Stevenson is just sort of like viewed as like this versatile piece that'll mix in wherever, and Wilson is the four, then I have no concerns about it. In my
Mhm.
head, although it's weird to me that Stevenson would be a three and Wilson would be a four. That just seems like a total confusing point to me.
So this was like Inside Carolina have been on that report that like when Carolina was recruiting both Jaron Stevenson and Cannon Catchings that they viewed them as the same position, like both capable of playing the three and the four, which I think Catchings and Stevenson have vastly different games. I wonder with Stevenson, it's just the defensive versatility. Like he can confidently guard threes, and I don't know like the Wilson's defense. I think is much more the weak side rim protection where he's sliding over and just like swatting shots into the bleachers. And I think Stevenson's more so the like comfortable getting switched on to smaller players, can slide his feet, and less of like the shot blocking instincts as Wilson. So I think maybe it's more from a defensive perspective, but yeah.
It's a good problem to have. You have a lot of talented pieces with different shapes and sizes and skill sets. So I don't know. Again, fascinating to watch. If it was Roy Williams, I'd be like, man, it's going to be great to watch him figure it out. With Hubert, it's like, hope he figures it out. Like,
Yeah, I fair critique. Like if Roy Williams was the coach right now, or if I had more faith in the coaching staff, I would be like ready to rank Carolina top 15 preseason and think the ceiling's a lot higher. But
yeah.
yeah, we're banking on even year Hubert, Greg. That's the hope of Carolina fans right now.
The good news is now you're in a spot where the pressure is on. I think
Mhm.
before this, it was like, okay, this offseason was weird. Shit, are we doomed? And now it's like, you have a good roster.
Yeah.
Yay, mission accomplished. Now do something with it. So
Yep. Yep.
we'll see.
Okay.
All right. Congrats to Carolina. Congrats to you. Congrats to Luka Curry, as Armon and myself are calling him. And we'll see what happens.